The definition of conviction is a firmly held belief. Leadership looks different for each person, but every leader has strong convictions that pave the way for how they guide their people. Whether you're an experienced leader, a current leader, a novice leader, or a soon-to-be leader, this podcast is a must for you. Through this show, you will hear leaders share their convictions, the struggles they face, and the challenges they have overcome by staying true to their convictions. Leadership can be hard and it can be lonely. I aim to connect you with leaders who have walked the journey and want to show others the way. This is Beau Vincent, and you're listening to The Conviction of a Leader. Welcome back to The Conviction of a Leader. This is Beau Vincent, your host, and I am pumped because I got a good friend, top dog Kory Rykman. What is up, my friend? How are you?
What's up, Beau? Good to be with you again, man.
Dude, thank you for joining me. I know you're a busy man, and once I introduce you and hit your bio for a second, everybody's going to realize, like, where did this guy find time to come on The Conviction of a Leader? But Kory, I really do want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a good friend and coming on the podcast, and also being part of C8, which we'll talk about that maybe at some point throughout the call too. But Kory Rykman, he's 40 years young. And I love that he put that in there, or whoever wrote this for him. Maybe it was his wife, his publicist, but 40 years young. He and his wife, Lindsay, are both captive insurance agency owners. They don't work for a captive. They own their location. They are probably past 33 million in premium at this point since the last time that I wrote this, but they have a combined 23 employees, which in the insurance world is a ton, because most people that own or run insurance agencies are one plus maybe two. Okay. Kory has hit a top bonus for 6 straight years with this carrier. He has maximized every single dollar that they have on the table for them. And he just capped off his 2023 year. And this captive that he's with, I'm also with. And dude, Kory was best in company. He literally won best in company, which is a power ranking on all facets of the business. Kory, they decided that you were number one best in company. Congrats. That just goes to say what kind of business you run and what kind of level of excellence that you're seeking. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I looked at the top 100, and after I got through 20, I just clicked off. And then somebody texted me and said, "Hey, congrats on 100th for me." And I was like, "Oh," so I opened it back up, and I was literally they list the top 100 in the company for this power ranking. And I was literally 100th on the dot, which I can be honest with you, I was pretty pumped out of the 7,000, however many agency owners there are. But number one, Kory, phenomenal. Prior to insurance, Kory, you worked your way up through the corporate ladder, managing sales teams in the world of healthcare software, which maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future, where you sold to hospitals and doctors. You know, he has 2 kids, 1 boy and 1 girl, got the best of both worlds. You got yourself the soccer boy and you got the soccer sass of your daughter. Kory is also, man, I'm going to keep going, a licensed realtor who spends half his time investing in fixer-uppers. He's on track to crack $500,000 in profit already this year from the venture. Somehow, he still has the stamina to play competitive soccer twice a week on a team that he sponsors, and they won a soccer championship last year. And you know why I know this is true? Because I saw the trophy. 1. 2, I know multiple other insurance agents that actually play on your team in Atlanta, and they say you're no joke. And Kory, welcome to the podcast, The Conviction of a Leader, my man.
All right, I guess we're done, man. You just summarized everything.
how you know what I love is when I used to ask people to introduce themselves, you would have just been like real humble, hit like 1 or 2 things, but let me be your hype man today, buddy.
Yeah,
this is about you. People are tuning in today to hear you. So Kory, let's talk about your journey, man. So you're at where you're at today. Okay. Which is very, you're at the top. You just literally had top spot last year. Congrats on that again. We're going
Yep.
to celebrate in a couple months when we go out to Scottsdale. But ultimately, dude, I'm proud to know you. I'm proud of you, you know? So tell me, what has this journey been like from healthcare software to today? What's it like? How'd you get here?
Ever since I was a young kid, man, I just knew I had to do something, right?
Yeah.
So the journey is not definitely not even over. But it's been crazy. Lots of
Yeah.
ups, lots of downs. Been broke a few times in my life, and you refuse to stay there.
Right.
You just work your butt off to get up, and that's what I've had to do
Yes.
a lot of times. And luckily, from those downs, I mean, I've been able to learn a lot on how to manage a business, grow an operation, especially manage like the finances of a business, because
Yeah.
that is probably the hardest part, to be honest with you, of running the
Yes.
business. And so when you figure that out, you kind of start investing back into the business, and you can start to see it grow.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
that's cool. So you said you started out as a kid, right? Did you have dreams of being a business owner? Like, where'd they come from? What made you want to do this?
I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit for sure.
Yeah.
You know, before I even knew what business ownership was like, my bro and I, he's a similar age to
Yeah.
me, but we
Roman,
were,
love him.
yep,
Yep.
you've met him. We would knock on doors in our neighborhood as like 10, 12 year olds, trying to wash cars, trying to raise some money, selling candy bars, doing that sort of
Yeah.
thing before you're ever allowed to work.
Yes.
So that's where that spirit came from. You know, we're an immigrant family. My parents came from Russia with nothing.
Yep. Wow.
They left communism. They don't let you take anything with you. They're like,
No.
see ya, get out of this country. And so
Yep.
they did. And so I just had this drive to just never be down again.
Dude, I love that. You know what's really cool, everybody out there in Kory, is that I got to take my brother,
Yeah,
18,
that was great.
18 months younger than me. How much younger is Roman to you?
He's 15 months.
15 months. So me and my brother, Kory and Roman, we got to go to the Ohio State versus Georgia football game last year because we were blessed with tickets, but we got to tailgate, hang out together. And it was like me and my brother, Kory and Roman. Now, here's what's funny. Me and my brother, Buckeye fans. Kory, you went to Georgia. You and Roman, right?
Well, I never went to Georgia, but
Oh,
Roman did.
okay. Roman
Yeah.
did. I'm sorry. Roman went to Georgia, but still, I'm a Browns fan too for NFL. And I don't know if I told you this, but Browns fans bark. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Yeah,
ooh,
just like the
right?
dogs do.
Oh man, but I didn't realize how annoying the barking was until I was
when it's
with you
not your
guys.
own
Yeah.
when it's not
And
your
I
own
won't,
team.
or
Oh,
to
that's
be
funny.
barked at, I should say. I wasn't barking with you guys. I was being
Yeah.
barked at. Every time I walked by in my Buckeye gear with my brother, people were like, oh, 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 oh. And I'm just so, anyways, but we've had
Yeah.
some good times, man, all the way back to C8 in Durango, Colorado a couple years ago. We could say humble beginnings, but it really, the way that we met was not really humble at our buddy's $2 million house on a
Yeah.
ski resort. But that was by pure chance and blessing that we got to meet. And we've had a great friendship come out from that. So I just want to say, like, I've seen you grow immensely, and it's really cool to watch and cheer on great friends like you. You've achieved a lot in your career, and then I don't want to say you've capped your career because, like you said, dude, there's so much more to come. So, Kory, what are some of the dreams that are still on the horizon for you? I talked a little bit about your real estate. Is that part of your dreams or next steps, or
Yeah,
what's
it's
on
always
your
going to be a
mind?
piece. I've loved real estate ever since I could remember. You know, one of the very first things you learn about success, I learned about success, is how many people made money in real estate, made millions in real estate. And so at a young age, that seed was planted, and I just did what I knew or what I could do about it to make it a part
Yeah.
of my success too. You just asked, you know, what's next, if you will. I was just having this conversation with one of my office managers. They were talking about, you know, what's the future of me here, Kory? What are your goals? And I really only one thing came to mind when I was talking to him. You know, we're 33 mil, like you just said,
Yeah.
but we know guys at 55 mil. We know a guy
Mm.
next to 100 mil.
Yeah,
So
we do.
That's the goal. It's 100 mil right now. If I had to put a point, I had to put a goal up. It's 100 mil.
100 milli. So
Yeah,
3x. And
yeah.
you know what? I bet, I hope the podcast, definitely our friendship will still be here. Hope the podcast's still around, because I don't think it'll be very far down the road. I think that you're experiencing like a snowball effect,
Mhm.
that the smarter you've gotten with your finances, your leadership, your people, relationship with running a business with your wife, which I want to dive into that in a little bit about what that dynamic's like. Because I know for some people they say I definitely couldn't work with my wife. Other people say I definitely could. So, are you experiencing faster growth than you did years ago because of the experience and where you're at, like that snowball effect?
Oh, unbelievably big difference between before and
Yeah.
now. This what a lot of people don't tell you about starting an insurance agency is you better be ready to be broke for at least a
Yeah.
year, 2, 3 years
Oh
is
yeah.
really what's more realistic. Um, a lot of people buy themselves a job and they're cool paying themselves 80, 120 grand a year, doing the bare minimum, one staff.
Right.
That's just not it for me. So when you, so when you can wrap your head around the finances of it, um,
Yeah.
be broke for a while, reinvest every last dime back into the business, back into more staff, more leads, better retention and service, then it really, really does start to snowball. And then at the end of the day, you're left with a lot more money to start to reinvest because it all just it's just math, man. It's just math. It just
Yeah.
if you reinvest it in a process that works, you're gonna get your return.
It's going to grow. So tell me about this transition. So when did you leave healthcare and go into insurance, and how did that happen?
It's a little bit of a long story, so I'll shorten it up. But
Okay.
I actually went
Okay.
to college to be a dentist. I was pre-dental.
Nice.
I was 3 years in to having a biology pre-dental degree, and I shadowed a dentist for about 2 weeks. And I was sitting behind him, and I was just like, "Dude, no, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Not happening. Not happening."
Yeah. No.
So I switched to a healthcare administration degree, which is like business administration,
Mhm.
just for the healthcare side. And my thought was, I'm going to work my way up, be CEO of a company, some big old healthcare, health IT company, a hospital, something like that, because I just had that business acumen, if you will, or want.
Mhm.
Um, so my first couple jobs out of college was in that sector, in that realm, and my wife, she's actually from an insurance family, right?
Oh,
So this whole time I'm
interesting.
like, I'll never be an insurance agent. It's not sexy at all. Like, don't even. Um, but she started doing it. I saw her comp plan, and I was like, wow, this could be lucrative. And I at this
Yeah.
point had grown some sales teams, had managed a handful of staff, figured out marketing for the sector I was in, figured out staffing and training and sales in general pretty well. And this was the turning point. If I was going to work my way up, one thing I noticed is all of these companies there was constant turnover, especially at the top. It's always
Right.
the execs, the VPs, the managers. They're getting nixed and they're moving on to the next job like every 2 to 5 years. And
Right.
eventually, I mean, you'll get up there and you'll be the CEO, right? But in the meantime, there'd be some turbulence, and you never own nothing. It was out of your control. And I just thought, I don't want to experience all that turbulence. There's too much uncertainty. And at the same time, I see this comp plan, which if I maximize will actually outproduce what I'm doing over here in corporate America anyways. So I just jumped headfirst, dude.
Nice. I love that. So Lindsay's your wife names, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lindsay was in insurance. You saw it. You said, "Okay, I'm working over here. This might be a smarter way to get to where I want to go if I join this side by myself." Did you buy an agency in the beginning, or did you just come alongside her agency?
I got my own.
Nice.
She's got her own agency, her own agent number, her own goals, and I've got my own agencies and my own goals. And we wanted to do that from the get go to split it up.
Uh huh.
Yeah. So
That's great. I
I
love
bought a
that.
couple guys out that were retiring. It was nothing. It was a $3.2 million book, right? These guys had
Hey,
been agents since like the 70s, and the most
and
they
that
could grow it to was 3 mil.
3 mil back then was big. That was mega back then.
Yeah,
If you
but
think,
I mean, I didn't buy it in the 70s, right? They
no, no,
started
I know that.
for
I know.
25, 30 years of work, and all they grew it to was 3 mil. We do that in half a
Yeah.
year these days.
Oh yeah, you do, and that's not an exaggeration. I see it. I know it. You're putting up some big numbers. So what kind of advice do you have if there's an insurance agency or even somebody that has a business that has to invest in leads, spend money to make money? Do you have any in advice along the spend money, make money?
Yes, man. This is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. But whenever I'm asked this question, the only thing I can say is be broke and spend
Yeah,
the money on your business and just give it some time to boil. And it works, man. I am firsthand
I agree.
testament to it. And I know a lot of friends like you and a lot of our
Hmm.
friends in C8 especially, like
Sunk it.
that is the one thing that we've ripped the band-aid off and just spent the money on marketing, spent the money on staff, didn't pay ourselves that month, survived on what we had, and just let the renewals kick in, let the new business kick in, let it work out.
So true. So true. Good advice. And that's the hardest part sometimes is just believing that you can. And there's agents that and owners in business that get into a position where they actually don't have the ability to not take money because they've spent all their money. And as an avid car guy like yourself,
Yeah.
I mean, that could be tough. You're like, do I give up my car? Do I give up this in order to invest in that? And I actually believe it would be better to break your own bank than the business's bank, if I'm being honest. Okay. Because once
Yep.
you break the bank of the business, that business could be done, which means
Yeah.
where do you get your money now? Now your personal bank really gonna be gone. So I do believe it's kind of like a profit first, take care of the business, and the business will eventually take care of you, which I've now starting to see that after 4 years of like investing back 100% back into people, marketing in the business. I'm starting to see that come back too. But
Good.
leadership is a journey, right? And you're up to 23 employees. So where did you start at? What staff did you have when you first walked in the door day one?
When I got my side of the business, when I talk about our agency, it's just me and Lindsay
Yeah,
combined because we run it
that's
as one
fine.
big
You
operation.
should.
You know, it's a family run business. The customers hear that, they like that
Yes.
husband and wife team thing. So I walked in with it was Lindsay and she had two staff, and then you add
Woo.
Kory to the mix. And I
So
inherited one staff who we fired within a week, really. So it was
I'm
just
sure.
it was four total people, day one, and what is that? We've 5x'd it.
Yeah. Yeah. 5x. That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
So so how did like is there any kind of advice or secret to your growth that you're willing to share or that you want to talk about? You did talk about spending money and
Mhm.
and not being afraid to be broke. Is there anything else that you want to add into that for advice for other business owners?
Yes, I mean I'll share all the secrets.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. That you know
Mhm.
when I first started in this business, I sat with some of the top dogs that I know of and that I've
Yeah.
heard of, and they shared with me. It's the least I can do is share with everybody else because let's be honest, half these folks won't do anything with it. So sharing it, like go for it.
Oh,
But
it's so true.
I
So
mean,
true.
the secret sauce is we do a couple things in marketing. We send a ton of mail out. We buy a ton of internet leads. We do some in-house telemarketing, and we also have some live calls come in from outside telemarketers. So those are the four facets of getting business that we have, and combined, I spend like 100 and some change, 100K plus every single month on marketing.
100,000. So there's a lot of people listening that they don't even, bring 100 grand in their household or their business, and you're spending 100,000 in marketing, but you've had to spend that money to make that money. And it comes back in way of new business commissions and renewals and bonus and everything else, right?
Yeah, you just
Mm.
The bonus especially makes all the difference in the world.
Mhm.
The way that we manage our goals is all based on maxing that bonus. So
Yeah.
when we put people's comp plans in place, my manager's comp plans in place, the way I pay myself, we got to hit that max bonus or everybody's getting less money.
Wow. So tell me about the dynamic between you and your wife and how you found a way to work together that has been, you know, you found a lot of success. Like I know there's challenges. You can share some of the challenges, but how you've overcome those.
It's it's hard to work with your spouse,
Yeah.
um, but it's not so hard that I don't advise it. In fact, I
Right.
highly advise it if you have. I mean, my wife is an alpha. I mean, she's a shark. So having her as a business partner is absolutely a help. So we're like good cop, bad cop,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So she manages the service operation, and I manage the sales operation, and that's awesome because if there's some service stuff that needs to be handled, and she has to talk to the service, they're mostly females there. Like
Mhm.
she's better at speaking with them because I can be a douche to be honest with you sometimes. Yeah, it's a sale. I'm a sales guy. I'm a business guy. Like it's just black and white for me.
Yeah.
She's got more of the emotion, and she can manage them a lot better than I can. And then when it comes to sales, I manage the sales team. This is what I expect. Here's what I'm going to give you. Here's what your colleagues are doing. Get as good as they are. And from that aspect, kind of splitting it up like that is absolutely perfect because I'm not the one having to manage everything. I've got somebody just as competent in Lindsay to manage the
Yeah.
service team.
And just as invested as you too, because
Yeah,
she's an owner. So
yeah.
that's huge too. So reflecting on like your own experiences,
Mhm.
what advice would you give yourself, your younger self, before you got into this agency, before you got into this life? Is there any advice that you would have had for yourself back then?
Dude, so much of it. Golly. Um,
Mm.
take the risk earlier, right? You get comfortable with a paycheck fresh out of school, you've got some debt,
Yeah.
you
So
want to buy the
true.
nice car, you want to go ahead and get the nice apartment and some
Married,
clothes
whatever.
or
Yeah.
go out and party with your friends. That was a big one. You know, buy a section at the club and have fun
Yeah.
as a kid, which you
Yeah. Live it
totally got
up.
to do. You got to get that out of your system. But at the same time, I wish I would have taken the risk earlier and started reading books earlier and listening to podcasts earlier
Mm.
about business because
Yeah.
a lot of my self development and what sparked like this crazy growth was learning and
Mm.
I didn't do that for a little while after school.
Man, that's great advice. And how impactful has, we don't have to use C8 as the main example. How impactful and important is it for leaders and business owners to surround themselves with great leaders and people that inspire them similarly, but also a little bit different from themselves? How important is it to surround themselves?
Bo, that is it's a universal law, right? It's one of the
Right.
universal laws is you are the average of the people you surround yourself with. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong
Mm.
room,
Hmm.
that kind of thing. So I think that is so critical. You have to get in front of people that are doing more than you, pushing boundaries more than you are, so you can continue to learn from them. Oh my God, that absolute most important thing I think, or if not tied for the top spot.
So true. That CA group that I've talked about, we have some of the best agents and people in the company, but also country. It doesn't matter what company. I think that we found a group of leaders that would be leaders everywhere. And I've been a leader in the past. You've been a leader in the past. It's a different avenue, same type of person, but we continue to grow. You know, what's funny about this group is when I find that I'm achieving something that maybe you achieved a year ago, I start to achieve it and I'm like, yeah. And now Kory's 2 or 3 times that. Now I'm like, oh, well, shoot. Now I got another goal to chase. But it's not about comparing myself to you, but more or less having somebody that has forged the way in that journey that I want to achieve and will show me the way. That's what I love about
Yes,
our group is that
yes.
you've been and others within the group have been willing to say, man, I've been doing this a little bit longer and I'm at a level where you're not quite to yet, but let me show you the way, Bo. let me show you how we've achieved this success. And honestly, that's part of, my past 14 years of leadership, huge part of why I'm successful in 4 years, but also the amount of people I've surrounded myself with and continued to be a student and want to learn and grow. Like you said, whether podcast, books, I do online leadership courses and training. But honestly, what I've learned the most has come from my friends who have actually experienced it and are willing to say, come here, let me show you it. And that is why I think that what we're doing with C8 is so cool, because it's not a business. It's not a business, is it? It's a bunch of
No.
friends doing
Yes.
life and work together. And now we're
Yes.
allowing people to come see it, right? If we're being
I
honest.
think the concept of what we're putting together, the little event,
Yeah.
is different, and this is what's going to make it so cool.
Yeah.
Because all these other events we've gone to over the years, it's just
Hmm.
one big stage. You got to listen to somebody talk for an
Yep.
hour, and what if you're not interested in that, or they're not a great presenter, and there's 100 people in the room raising their question, asking the wrong thing, and now you got to
Yeah.
listen to that question. We're gonna have small groups, each one
Yes.
with a topic.
Hmm.
We're going to learn from them, sit around, sip a drink if we have to, learn about that
Yep.
topic, and then we rotate to the next topic. And it's a small, intimate group. I love that
And
idea.
I love it. I don't know where the idea fully came from. If part of it was you and some other people, I heard these
Yeah, it was
ideas.
Andrew as well. Yeah.
I love it. Just like you said, one of the C8's going to lead a discussion at every table, but it's not about going to a conference and sitting with hundreds of people staring at one person on a stage. It's going to be, like you said, a circle. One person starts discussion, and we're praying and believing it's going to grow into great discussion and sharing and asking questions to understand, to learn, and to share, which relationships and networking is going to be at an all-time high. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest. I mean, to get access to one another, and hopefully we mix up these groups, and we'll talk about this later. Hopefully we mix up these groups to where there are a bunch of people that don't know each other, so that they can get to know each other. And I'm pumped about it. We're going to be at the Phoenician in
Oh,
Scottsdale,
that's
which
such a
is
great resort,
also,
too.
I've never been to the Phoenician. I've been to
It's
Scottsdale.
good.
I can't wait. Can't wait to hang out with some of my best friends doing what I love the most, which is learning and adding value to people's life, putting things out of worth. It's exciting. So if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't signed up for C8, it's 620. Hopefully this podcast comes out well before then, but 620, June 20th at the Phoenician in Scottsdale, Arizona. It is. Kory, let's talk about why we decided to not only allow people to register, but made sure that we picked the right people
Yes.
to come. It's not about exclusivity, is it? It's more
Well,
about having the right
it's not
mindset or
exclusivity
people.
from being a jerk about it,
Yes.
but we definitely only want people to attend that have the same drive that we do.
Yes.
They're not going to hijack a conversation because they're there to
Mm.
learn,
Yes.
and they have the want to put what we're about to talk about into action. We
Mm.
we want those individuals, and
So
they're,
true.
they
We do want them.
yeah.
No, and it's what I love about the group is that we've all come together and said, like, this is the type of owners that we want here and why.
Yeah.
And yes, it feels exclusive, but also it's a combination of, like, we're not doing like, oh, you have to be this size, have this much money, this success. No, are you coming to learn, or are you coming to learn and share, or are you just coming to not have an impact? Because this is like a mastermind slash conference. We're calling it a summit, and it's gonna be awesome. It's probably different from anything I've ever been to, and I've been to
That's the
shoot double
goal.
digit conferences in the last two
Yeah.
years. Right, that is the
That,
goal.
yeah.
That's what that's one of the next things on horizon for you and I. And I'm excited to really see where it goes, but more importantly, I'm excited to see what people take from it and the feedback we get from it, because I think it's going to be top notch. So
Yeah.
speaking of that, so in that same vein, let's talk about somebody who's influenced you the most. Has there been an impactful person in your life when it comes to leadership, business ownership, entrepreneurship, that has really been an impact on your life?
Yes. It's really when I first got started in
Mhm.
insurance, there was a couple agents' names that kept popping up
Hmm.
that were doing big things. And I called them up and I was like, hey, can I spend a day or two with you in your office? Let me pick your brain. Before I ever picked up the phone and started calling any leads, this was my first week on the job. Um,
Wow.
there was a couple agents. I don't know if you've heard of them. Rudy Sorovic is one of them.
I know
Love
Rudy.
Rudy. He
Good
turned
guy.
out
Love
he's
him.
one of my best friends now. And Joe Sani here in Atlanta. Um,
Ah,
they let me sit with them. We're just as open and candid about their entire process, and I learned certain things from them. And I went back and just put that stuff to work. And from there, I learned a lot of my own, what works and what doesn't work. And I love those guys, and now I've surpassed them.
I do think it's important to find people that not only like C8 is a bunch of guys that are very similar paths, similar points of their life across the board, but Rudy and some of these other guys you mentioned, it's important to also find somebody more like a mentor that's done what you want to do and show is willing to show you the way, almost like a mentor. And that mentorship almost turns into friendship, doesn't it, after time?
For sure.
So, do you have anybody in your life right now that is kind of, maybe in the seat that you used to be in, looking up to Rudy in some ways? Is there anybody that you're working with currently that, maybe reaches out to you that you feel like, hey, I can kind of be in this role now?
Yeah, there's a handful of guys that reach out to me
Yeah.
regularly, and I absolutely will give them the time of day because, for one, they're trying to better themselves,
Hmm.
and I was in their exact same shoes, so I will give them what I know and let them run with it.
Oh, I love that. I think it's important for us to share what we learn, and especially if we expect others to help share their processes and their journey with us. So I try to be as open or more open than I expect other. Actually, I'm more open than I expect other people to be with me, and 90% of the time, it does create an opportunity for people to be more open and more trustworthy with me. But I love to hear that. I know that with you being best in company, there's no way that people haven't come out of the woodwork that you've never even heard of that are saying, hey, I noticed that you were this and that. And not only that, what I'm excited about is you and I are speaking at the same conference in about a month from now at Texas Leadership Forum. So I'm excited to see you there in Dallas. I almost forgot about that. So that'll be
Yeah,
fun to hang out. But yeah, your bio was one line: best in company 2023. So I love that, man. Like I said, I get excited to be like, that's my boy, that's my friend. So congrats again. I mean, you should continue to be, proud of that, but it doesn't stop there. Keep looking forward, right? It's good to have
yeah. Look,
those.
best in company doesn't mean I was I had the most sales. Let's be honest about it. Like there are guys doing 1,000 items a month. There's a dude, you know
Yeah,
who I'm talking about, broke two
sure.
thousand items last month.
Yep.
First time in history, if
Down
I'm
the
not
road from me.
mistaken. Yep. So that's the next goal. Like as a profitable station, I think that's how Allstate does it. Like Kory's agency grew the most, had the best loss ratio, had the best bundling,
Yeah. It was a power
you know.
ranking.
Exactly. So I mean, we had to do 600 items a month average last year to get that top spot, but there's guys that outsold us.
I wonder if anybody's ever won that back to back. You know, I wonder because the
I
way you're going at it might be
I don't know,
might be a
man.
challenge.
R&Ps have changed for us a little bit, so it is a little bit tougher right now. I'm trending a couple points less than I was last year. Not a lot. It's only like
Yeah.
2.4% less than last year. But yeah, maybe not. We'll see.
Oh, well, you know what? If anybody could do it, I know you can. And I love that you decided to pick apart like best in company in a way because, yeah, it's multiple things. It was a power ranking of everything, which I think all the most important parts of owning and running a business. But you said, you're going to pick out some parts that you think you can even improve on within that. And that's what'll make you, let's be honest, win it again. Beat
Yeah.
yourself because the goal is, and I think this, like, let's put the award to the side. The goal for you from me talking to you is for you to just beat yourself last year, be better than you were last year. And if you do that, You beat yourself on the year you won?
I think that's a life goal, and not for everybody, because we know a lot of people that flatline.
Yes.
That's not acceptable. You always got to be trajectory up.
Yeah, knowing that while you've achieved much, there's always room to make a difference in other people's lives too. So some people, switch from this side to saying, I want to give more outside of my business to people. But I think with the hyper growth that you've experienced, that I'm experiencing, it's all we only have so much time in the day to focus on, you know, in-house and then our family. And then if
Mm.
we're lucky, we're doing some other things beyond that on the side, like real estate investment, coaching, consulting. So, tell me about your kids and about how you find time to be the father that they need when you have a lot of pieces in the air.
That's a good one, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to do it. It's what
Mhm.
brings you the most joy.
Oh yeah.
Fill that cup of love, and your
Yeah.
kids fill it better than anything else. Business is always going to have turmoil and drama and stuff for you to address that can wait a day or can wait a couple hours. And you're not going to get that time back with your kids when they're 9, 10, 12 years old.
Oh man.
Um,
And
so
I know it.
yeah, and so I absolutely love spending time with them. And honestly, one of the reasons I've worked so hard is to buy back some of my time.
Yeah.
And so having 23 employees in a business that's managing itself for the most part, we've got management teams in place, a couple managers for sales, some for service. Like, we can take half a day whenever we want, to be honest, and
Mhm.
hang out with the kids after school.
That's
So
cool.
yeah,
I love that you get to do that. And that's been one of the biggest blessings in my life too, is the I don't want to say work-life balance because I had work-life balance when I worked for somebody. It's
yeah,
really the work-life integration, right? We own a business that could be on our mind 24/7 if we allowed it because we own it.
right,
Okay. We lead it. We
right,
lead it and we own it. So
right.
what I've learned though is like how do you leverage the dreams and the business to impact your kids and your own life and your wife's life also. Obviously, I do everything I can to bless my people, my team, so that they can live that life too. But
Yes.
ultimately, like you said, I did want to get into this so that I could leave a legacy of being a really great father to my kids. And honestly, when you're chasing the corporate ladder, I did feel like I sacrificed a lot of time with my kids in order. Now, my kids are a little bit older than yours. I got a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 7-year-old, 6-year-old. But, the older ones are a little older. But like, I did feel when they were younger that I was out here traveling around and doing as much as I could while they were young to achieve, but it laid the groundwork to be where I'm at today, to where my 6-year-old is always going to see that I'm always around. He won't know any different. And the 14-year-old probably has forgotten about me being in charge of a bunch of different
But they
locations. And
remember now.
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And they're going to remember now because they're older now. So my this podcast is about convictions, the leadership of or the conviction of a leader, right? And convictions are deeply held beliefs. Often most leaders don't realize this, but it's guiding them to make decisions and stuff that holds them. Like, I have convictions that actually hold me accountable to the person and the leader that I want to be. Do you have any convictions of a leader that you would like to share that have guided you through your
Yeah.
journey?
Yeah. I have one conviction that instantly comes to mind.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I grew up, to not use a cuss word, a crappy kid a little bit. Like, I was a little bit of a troublemaker. I wasn't always doing the right things and being as honest as I should be. Um, and that bit me in the butt. In fact, that impeded my success. It slowed my. I would have been, could have been, should have been more successful earlier if I hadn't made dumb decisions. And when I learned, finally, when my brain matured at like age 25 or 26,
Yeah.
you know, I learned, like, there is no shortcuts, Kory. None. You got to do it the hard way,
Mm.
the right way, every single time. And that's the only way to get something done. And you've got to do it with every bit of honesty possible. Because it's all gonna what goes around comes around. It's gonna bite you. Blah blah blah. So those two things uh, just changed my life, and I've only operated that way since, and God has blessed me because of it.
Man, no shortcuts. I love that. It's been a while since I've heard somebody just directly say that. Hey, man, there's no shortcuts. Work hard, but no shortcuts. And you know what you said, you got to lead by example, and there's no shortcuts. So, in my leadership academy that I created, I also created three key leadership steps. Number one is teach it. Number two is lead it. And number three is expect it. I believe that great leaders find a way to teach others and coach them. And we all have different strategies and ways, but I put those together in one step. Number two is I believe that you should lead it. Whatever you teach, you should model that behavior or ensure that you have a leader modeling that behavior if you're not sitting in that role anymore. And the last one is if I've taught you and we model it, we lead it, I got to expect it. Okay.
Yep.
So it sounds there. I can't allow them to take shortcuts that we don't take, that I wouldn't take. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that they achieve the top potential in their life and their career and impact this business positively, because I believe that positivity bleeds, but also negativity and shortcutting. Being a man that shortcuts, that bleeds into other people too. They're going to take those shortcuts. So, Kory, I know for sure that you work hard. I know you do, and you don't take shortcuts. So, how have you been able to balance fitness, soccer within this life too? Because that's important to you. And why is it important? How do you balance it?
Well, soccer and fitness in general, I can show you my biceps right quick.
More of that
but
8 pack.
yeah, more like a two pack.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but there's at least a two pack.
Yeah.
But fitness, I've always been athletic and into sports my entire life,
Yeah.
and it's kind of an out. We do live a pretty hectic, stressful week and day in life, and you got to have a way to just get some of that rage out, or you know what I mean.
Work out
You're pent up,
frustrations. Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And sports and lifting weights is the way that works the best for me.
Same.
It's another thing. I'm like
Yeah.
super competitive in business and super competitive in sports. And like I want to win. I want to recruit the best guys for my team so we can keep winning because that feels great.
You know, what you're talking about is something that I often talk about. It's hard to be somebody different outside of work, right?
Yeah,
So if you work hard at work, you don't take shortcuts. It kind of bleeds into your life. But also, if in your personal life, you're a hard worker, you're not taking shortcuts with working out, you're eating right, you're working hard, you're being a good father, that bleeds into work also. So I believe it's really hard. Some people think, and those that are, I don't think you can be two different people. I don't think I can be the at home Beau and the at work Beau. That is who I
yeah,
am.
yeah.
I mean, and if one of them is a liar, if they're different or completely fake. So I work on being the same person all the time in my life. And I work out just like you, maybe not to the level of you, but
I don't know. You might have some bigger biceps than me. I see them poking
I work
through.
out.
Yeah, look at
I
that.
work out, but I don't hit the soccer field. I'll tell you that. You know
Yeah.
why? I have all my friends here locally say, "Hey man, you should join our soccer team." And I'm like, "Dude, I played soccer. You don't even know this. I actually played indoor soccer until my mid-20s roughly. My
Okay.
wife would come see me, but I'll tell you what, I tried playing recently. I think I made it 5 minutes before I was like, I need a sub, not now, like not later, like right now. Like I need a sub right now because it's indoor too, and indoor the
Yeah, a lot
ball
of running.
rolls so fast, man. But
Yeah,
that
a lot of
level,
it. Yeah.
dude. You know what I love about soccer, which is
What?
similar to some business stuff, is that when somebody gets the ball, I want that ball. I want to go get it. I mean, if
Yeah.
they're on my team, great. I want to support you. But if you're not on my team, I want the ball.
Yeah.
And if I have to break your ankles to get it, I will.
Bump them off
I'm
the
just
ball a
saying.
little bit.
But oh yeah, bump them off. But if I'm kicking as hard as I can, the ball's relatively close. I
Yeah.
mean, hey, is that shady? Is that being not a
That's how you
you
play,
know?
man.
That's how you
That's
play.
why
Okay,
it's a
just
much
making
more
sure
physical sport
than
than
people
than a lot
realize.
of people know, man.
Hey, I don't know. Did you catch, and you may not have caught it, but did you catch the women's U.S. soccer team last night?
No.
No, I don't usually watch. I'm on this weird kick. I just watched Caitlin Clark. two different games in a row in the Final Four and the championship. But then I actually got tickets to the women's U.S. national soccer team for the She Believes Cup for Columbus,
Yeah.
and I know it was in your backyard in Atlanta too,
Yeah.
but I didn't actually go. I ended up giving the tickets to customers, which made me feel really good, who had daughters, and they got to take their daughter soccer players, and that's
That's
part of
cool.
like this. We love insurance. We love people more.
That's great, man.
It goes as far as I can, but I ended up tuning in towards the end of the game, and like it was tied. It was 1-0. Uh, Canada was up. Then US comes back 1-1. Then Canada, I think, took the lead again. Then US came back and it's 2-2, and it ended with the shootout because this was the championship of the She Believe Cup, which I've heard is the second largest cup now outside of the World Cup
Okay.
for women. So they came back, they did this shootout, and it's kind of like our business and in life. They went ahead by one, and then Canada came back, scored a goal, and then we missed a goal, and now it's tied again for the shootout. And then it went back and forth, I think 7 or 8 kicks, and
Okay.
eventually we won, which I
Okay.
mean, which is so cool because, you know, I had a podcast interview right before you, and we started to dive into, have you ever heard the thoughts become your words become
Yes.
your actions
Absolutely.
become your habits become
Yes.
your character
Yes.
becomes your destiny. Well, I want to think like that each soccer player had to believe that I can make this. And then I actually go through my day a lot of times saying, Beau, you're going to have a good day. You're going to have a good day. But it started with a thought. Then I actually say it. Then my actions are looking for the good in the day, not the
Yes.
negative. I
Yes.
find it and I attack it and becomes my habits and actions, which becomes who I am. And people say, man, Beau, you're a really positive guy. Well, it doesn't mean that I always am. But when it comes out of my mouth, I want to make sure that it is positive. So, you
I
know,
agree with
I,
that.
thanks, man. I hope so because most of the leaders that I speak to that are very successful have some similar thoughts behind that sentiment of like thoughts become actions or words and actions and characters in your destiny. So, were you a very confident kid? Did it start in your own head? Did you need other people to reassure you?
Yeah, I was definitely, I would even say as a kid a little cocky.
Yeah.
Which led me to think there were shortcuts and I knew better than other
Ooh.
stuff. So yeah, I've always been confident. I would see success around me, other people doing it, and I was just like, if they can do it, I can do it, and that's stayed with me forever. You know, there's guys
Yeah.
doing 2,000 items a month right now. If they can do it, I can do it. I'll find a way. I'll figure it out. It might not be this year, but I'm going to work towards that as a goal. So yes, you got to start with believing in yourself, and that's like you just said. The conversation you have in your own mind, it has to be positive, because
Oh
then
yeah.
that's going to lead to those positive actions. And that's the number one thing I'm trying to instill in my son right now. You know, he's young. He's still learning a lot. Um,
Hmm.
and that's your mind really does control your actions, controls how you
Everything.
feel. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Even literally how you feel, right? Sometimes physically, the aches, the
Yes.
pains, the sickness can come from here. And it's
Yes.
pretty proven. Anxiety, stress, it does start up here a lot of times. And how we control it, how we deal with it is important. You've created this in your mind, this, successful person, and then you've lived into it, which I love to see that. You're very consistent. Do you live by a routine? Do you have a routine? Are you pretty do you work out same time, same days, or no? Do you
Yeah.
alternate a little bit?
I mean, I don't have a routine like some people do, I would say,
Yeah.
but I definitely have a routine in the sense that here's about the time slot that I usually work out.
Yes. Yep.
And I've got the thing where I have to work between these hours and like it's deep
Yeah.
work, right? And then I'm off and I hang with the kids. And then I hang with the wife. So there's definitely a routine, and it's been like this for years at this point, so I don't even think of it as a routine. But yeah, I think you gotta have one.
Oh yeah. So consistency leads to success. I mean, you've heard that. I've heard it. It's not my line, but I actually believe it. And I think that there is this balance between consistency in your business, your mind. What is it? Mind, body, soul,
Spirit.
business spirit, all of it. I mean, I think there has to be some level of consistency to find, you know, not only like who you are, but like what you find fulfillment in, what you maybe feel like you were created to
But that's
do.
also what you're saying. Consistency is business 101. You got to find
Yeah.
what works. And to find what works, you got to make some mistakes and lose a little bit of
Yeah.
money and lose a little bit of sleep. But when you find what works, do it again. Then double down. Do it again. And that is the secret to this business is
Mm,
I had to find what works. I had to make some
yeah.
mistakes, switch vendors, switch tactics. Then you find what works and you double down and you see that it continues to work. And you double that down and you see that it continues to work. Yeah.
Nice. Has it been pretty smooth sailing of growth every year since you started, or have you ever had any roadblocks or setbacks within this? How long have you been in insurance now? I actually didn't ask that.
I opened in 2017.
Okay.
So I'm in my eighth year.
Eighth year. So within
Yep.
the 8 years, have you seen any setbacks? Was it maybe something you underestimated, overestimated? Maybe some was easier than you thought.
It's continued to get better year after year. So there hasn't
Mm-hmm.
been like, a bad year where
Mm-hmm.
that happened. But setbacks, yes, Bo, I can name 1,000 of them. A lot
Yeah.
of it has to do with staffing, and it's a short setback, but you've got somebody that you've invested a lot of time and money into, and they move on. They
Yeah.
insurance isn't for them. They want to do something else, and I'm the kind of person that like I get it, dude. Do you? This isn't for you. I'm I'm happy to see you go in the sense that I just want to see you succeed, see you happy. So there's been some turbulence a little bit
Yeah.
with staff, especially in the beginning when you're still figuring out what kind of a manager you are, what kind of a leader
Mm-hmm.
you are, what kind of operation you're running. But that's why I go back to saying go all in, be
Right.
broke for 2 3 years because it's going to cost you money to turn over staff. I think I didn't have one staff stick with me my first 6 or 7 hires. None of them worked out. Um, and I can't imagine what that really cost me in lost business,
Right.
in commission, and bonus potential and that sort of thing. But that next paycheck, use it on another staff member because one of them is going to work out.
Wow. You know what you said actually reminds me of something that my father used to tell me. And my father's had his challenges, and addictions and failures. But, one thing that I need to make sure to remind myself and others is that my dad did a lot of great things and said a lot of great things too. Amongst his problems, he had great successes. But I remember going to my dad after I got promoted. I was 21. I got promoted to run a store, a retail store, and I had
Mm-hmm.
worked 18 months in training. I was 21, 21 and a half, something around that. Maybe it was 22. 22 makes more sense. 18 months. And then I got promoted to my first store. And I was complaining about something to my dad and saying that the company's changed a lot of things. And I don't know. And I was complaining. And he said to me, he said, you either have to believe in the company you work for or work with, and you're all in or you're all out, and you have to decide now. Because if you're not
Yes.
all in, you need to get out. But if you're all in, shut up and do it and figure it out. Find a way. And one thing that you've continued to say is, especially for entrepreneurs and business owners, one of the knacks that I find is that entrepreneurs are great leaders, find a way, and they don't give up until they find the way. I have this sick passion for yes. And I'm like, when somebody tells me no, I'm like, okay, no now, no forever. When's it going to be yes? How do I find a yes? Why is it a no? And I want to find it out. But you know what? We have decided that we're business owners and we're all in. And we're not going to fail. We're not going to let it fail. We're going to do everything we can to be successful. And I love that. Like, it just reminded me of what my dad said. Like, either, I think he said something along the lines of drink the Kool-Aid or don't, but you got to
Yeah.
be in or all out. And I was just like,
Yeah.
okay. And I reinvested in, I heard this, because I could consider it when it felt like it was falling apart. Actually, it actually fell together. So I needed things to fall apart in order for my brain to connect everything, my success to happen and define this journey, because it was kind of falling apart. And I was like, I thought I was going to be better than this. I thought I was going to have so much more success in the beginning.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I wanted to quit, man. And that's where he put me in my place. And it was like the darkest um, place in my early career. And he said, listen, man, it's the darkest before dawn. You don't give up.
Yep.
We don't quit. He used to say that to me. We don't quit. Vincent's don't quit. Vincent's don't quit. You got your name, your last name, my last name on your jersey. We don't quit. And
That's
because I
right.
didn't give up and I didn't quit, it actually led to me being the rookie manager of the year for, 1/4 company, which at the time was 300 store managers, which then led to me being, a manager in training, one of the best managers. And I believe this may or may not be a fact of the fact, but I was the youngest district manager when I got promoted at 27 in the company. And it might have been one of the youngest ever, because this was in a time, think about 20 years ago, retail was run by older men,
Mhm.
40s, 50s, college grads. To have a
Yep.
27-year-old getting into those ranks, because when I first became a store manager, no joke, it was like 45, 55 was average age of a retail manager. So just good advice. I have to remind myself and speak it in the podcast too, because I want everybody to know, I can talk about some of the failures of my dad, but also, he freaking was a hard worker, and he
Good.
instilled some of the best things. And like you said, you're trying to instill in your son. It reminded me of these things about some of the things that my dad had instilled in me, is that blood is thicker than water. Take care of your brothers. Because I was the oldest brother. And I had two younger brothers and a sister. And you know what? At times I felt like I was the leader of the family, whether they gave it to me or I took it upon myself. But quite frankly, that propelled me into being a better leader long
No,
term.
that's good. He spoke the truth there, man. All of
Oh,
that.
yeah. He
Yeah.
did. My dad was not very tactical and not real soft, but he was very direct, man. And I could tell you, I always got the truth from him. Didn't like to swallow it and listen to it at times, because I was rebellious, but also thinking like, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's not me. You just don't see what I see. But ultimately, most of his reads were direct and actually accurate. So
Uh,
Kory, hey, before we wrap up today, is there any advice that you would like to leave for other entrepreneurs, soon to be leaders, want to be business owners soon? Is there any advice you could leave for them?
yeah. It's mirroring what your dad said. You
Mm.
got to be all in.
Ah,
You can't succeed in nothing. If you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, giving it a half-ass effort, not putting in the work, that's what it is. If you're going to do this, you got to give everything up and do it right and spend every dollar you got to make it happen and spend every ounce of energy you got to make it happen. Or, like we said earlier, there's no shortcuts. You're just going to
mm-mm.
fall on your face. You got to do it
Good advice.
the hard way.
Good
But it's
advice.
worth it. At the end, it's freaking worth it. So if you can bear a little bit of pain and discomfort, you can't just achieve it without some pain and discomfort. And
Mm. Oh,
Go
I
after it, my
love it.
friend.
I love it. I heard this saying, I'm going to end with this: tough times create strong men.
Yeah,
Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men, and weak men are the ones that create tough times.
yeah,
So I am attempting to, what's tough, Kory, is guys like you and I have created, I would say, pretty great lives for our families and our kids. And we've made it pretty easy for them. Not real tough times, right? For our
yeah,
kids. So my job and your job, I believe, as a father, is to help create strong men
yeah.
that know how to lead, their self. One, they need to know how to lead themselves. Believe it or not, that's
One
dumb to
thing
say.
that we're lucky to
Yeah.
do is our kids are witnessing our come up firsthand. They're
Oh
seeing
yeah.
the work. They're seeing the
First
work.
generation come up. Yeah.
They're seeing daddy, handle his business. So in my opinion, and at least in my home, like that's rubbing off on them. They see that they got to bust their butt. They they got to scrape their knees a little bit and fall. So luckily, I I think my next generation is learning
Yes.
how to be,
Yep.
and the weaker stuff will hopefully happen way later because right now they're seeing us working hard.
Oh yeah. You
Yeah,
and your wife, which is just such a crazy dynamic for your daughter and your son
and
to
just the
see mom and
conversations
dad.
we have at home
Oh yeah.
is such
Eye
a
level.
Yes, and that's what they hear. It's all about what they see and hear in the house, and they're hearing us talk about finances like all day
Business.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Entrepreneurship, big decisions, right? And
yeah,
and
man.
you it's normal. I would imagine that's normal talk at your household. So I can't wait to see where your kids go. The legacy you're leaving is going to last not only for your kids' lifetime, but the generations to come. And it's really cool to think about how Kory came as an immigrant family came as an immigrant from Russia and what you've achieved already at 40 years young and what you're going to achieve. Because you know what's great, Kory? I know you believe this. What you achieved in 2023, it's great to erect that statue as a reminder of the success you've had, but you're not looking backwards, are you? You're looking
No,
forward because your
right.
best is still yet to come. And I'm along for the ride, man. And I'm one of your biggest fans, and I appreciate you joining this podcast. I means a lot to me, and I only bring on people that I know, that I like, and I trust to the conviction of a leader. So thank you for joining me, my buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome, man, and I hope to be back one day soon.
Oh, you will be. But hey, before I let you go, will you tell people where they can follow you, where they can find you, contact you if they'd like to?
Yeah, of course. It's Facebook and Instagram. I'm Kory, Kory.
Yep.
One of the only ones I know that spells it that way.
Yep.
So just type in Kory Rykman, actually, not Rykman.
Oh yeah, sorry, Rickman.
Well,
I said
it
that.
should be Reichman. It's spelled Reichman, but when my parents
Yeah.
immigrated, they had no idea how to spell, so they spelled it all wrong. But in
Oh,
Russian,
you
it's
know what?
pronounced Rickman.
Rickman. Makes
Yeah,
sense. Well, thank you, Rickman.
yeah,
I
man.
appreciate you for real. And names are important. I better start saying it right, Rickman.
I
So
I kind of like Reichman better some days. I still go by
I
it
like
occasionally.
Rickman.
Yeah.
I like Rickman. So, because it is who you are, and I like who you are. So, listen, if you're listening to this podcast and it made an impact on you, do me a favor. I need you to share this YouTube or this podcast that you're listening to right now. Why? Because if it impacted you, it's definitely going to impact one of your family members, your friends, or a coworker. Please don't wait. Share it now. And secondly, please like, follow, turn on all notifications for this podcast. Why? Because I'm here to give you value and worth and find the best leaders I possibly can in this world. Thank you, Kory. Appreciate you, bro. And I will talk to you soon. See you at the C8 Summit.
See you soon. Bye.